Hey, thank you for joining us. It's Coffee with Pastor Mike. We are still in the drive-through edition. Today I'm drinking McDonald's because it is Monopoly. And so we'll just peel that back. Hey, free coffee. Not too bad. All right, let's dive into this. We started last week in Philippians chapter 3. It says, I am not saying that I have this all together, that I have it made, but I am well on my way. I'm reaching out for Christ, who has so wondrously reached out for me. Friends, don't get me wrong. By no means do I count myself an expert in all of this, but I have my eye on the goal where God is beckoning us onward to Jesus. I'm off and running, and I am not turning back. Several years ago, Rachel and I were planning a trip. We were going to drive through the night, leaving after church on a Sunday evening to go to Halifax to see my family. We were going to go out for supper after church and then strike out at 11 o'clock. And wouldn't you know it, there's a guy in our church named Henry, a very interesting fellow, and he thought that he would hitch a ride to Montreal with us. I said, Rachel, we can't do this. It's not going to go well. The moment Henry gets involved, it's going to go south. Trust me, it's not going to, oh no, it'll be fine. Okay, so we take Henry, we get in the car, we drive to Montreal, like 4-hour drive. We get to Montreal around 3 in the morning, and Henry forgot how to get to his uncle's house where he was going. He thought he knew, but he had no idea. We pulled off at a Comfort Inn just by Dorval Airport. I had no idea where I was. Henry calls his uncle, wakes him up in the middle of the night. I could hear swearing on the telephone. He gets directions. We find our way to the uncle's house. It took 2 hours to find the spot in the dark in Montreal. I was not happy at all. We drop Henry off. We're in about the worst neighborhoods you can imagine. He gets out of the car. I see him go into the house. And I think, what in the world are we going to do now? How are we going to get out of here? The worst place to be when you're in a car is lost. Now, I know, men, we're not admitting ever to being lost, but there are times, the odd time, where we don't know where we are going. And it's like that in life sometimes. It's like that in life when we have kids and marriage and jobs and money and frustrations and difficulty. We don't know how we got into the pickle that we found ourselves in, but somehow here we are in the middle of nowhere, and we don't like where we are. We don't know how we got here, and we don't know how to get out. It's so easy to get there. It's so easy to get stuck. But the good news for us is that we don't need to stay lost at all. We don't need to stay trapped and stuck in a miserable situation. We don't need to stay captive to our circumstances. The verse I just read here, but I am well on my way, reaching out for Christ, who has so wondrously reached out for me. I love that God is reaching out for us, pulling us in, drawing us close. If we believe that He's got great things in store for us, if we believe He's got His life in our hands, we sing that song as kids, He's got the whole world in His hands. So how could He not have my little old life wrapped up in His? The great thing is God calls us. He doesn't hold our sin against us. He doesn't hold our past against us. He doesn't say, look what you have done, but He welcomes us with open arms. There's a story that Jesus told in the New Testament about a son who lost his way, who took off and left his father's home, took everything his father had and wasted it on foolish living. The son ended up broke because he lost everything, and he ended up living with pigs, feeding the pigs, wishing that he could have the food, the slop that the pigs were eating. He decided at one point that it would be better if I went home and asked my father if I could work for him. I know I'm not going to be his son anymore, but I wish that I could work for him. At least I would have it better. So he goes home, but what he doesn't realize is that the father was waiting for him the entire time, standing at the edge of his property, looking out over, longing to see that son come home. When the father saw his son coming in the distance, he gathered up his garments and he tore off running to find his son, to pull him in, to welcome him home. You want a job in my house? No. You're my son. I love you. And they threw a party welcoming the son back into relationship. That's what God wants to do with us, is welcome us into relationship, bring us close to Him. God is standing right at the edge, calling you in. inviting you to come near. Would you respond to that today? Set aside all the foolishness, set aside your lostness, and draw near to God, who is so wondrously reaching out for you today. All right, guys, grab your coffee, hit the road. We'll see you next time.